From a professional soccer career to becoming a driving force in the mortgage industry, Brian Covey has shown what it takes to find your competitive edge. Get off the sidelines and get in the game. Find your competitive edge with Brian Covey.
What's up, guys? Hey, so we've got an exciting day planned ahead. So normally I come to you live. It might just be me. Might have somebody on here. We're doing a podcast and we happen to do it live. But today we've got my friend Chris Welton. And I want you guys to buckle up because today we're going to talk about some things that Chris just went through a pretty big transition. And if you're looking at an opportunity in your life and you're working a job or you're in some situation, you're trying to figure out how do I get from where I am to where I really feel like I'm called to be, or where I feel led and actually just more excited about what you do, you're going to want to tune in because what Chris has done, I applaud him for being one of those guys, one of my personal friends that I call in the bunker with me, as I say. He's on the personal growth and development journey, but he's actually living what he talks about. And I think too oftentimes people don't do that. So without further ado, we're just going to jump right in. Chris, welcome, buddy.
Let's go, man. You and I always have so much fun when we do this. It's like, I think I need to relocate to Franklin, Tennessee, honestly, and then we could just kind of hang out all the time. But
I would love that. And I'm coming to Orlando soon. So I'm gonna give you a heads up before I come down there to visit some of our properties and some of our friends that are there. And we need to do something live. But I think this is really cool today. People get kind of an inside look. If you were a fly on the wall or you happen to be in a room, people always say, hey, I want to be in the room where these conversations happen. Today is going to be one. Write down your notes. If you are live with us, jot your questions over here. I'll be monitoring the comments as fast as I can as they come through. But hey, let's talk about you because you just made a pretty big transition. And, I think a lot of people underestimate making moves in their life and maybe taking risks, they might call them. But you have just made a pretty big move and in the mortgage industry for almost 2 decades. And now you're going full blown into coaching without giving too much. Let's hear the story.
So I was a chief sales officer for a non-delegated correspondent lender out of the Orlando market, and we done well. We put up some really big numbers when everybody did, right? And then we're still doing well, even in this type of market. But I had the opportunity to coach on the side. And I really enjoyed it. And I'm one of those individuals who's been coached for a long time. I've always had a coach of some, whether it was sports when I was playing as an athlete or as I grew up and got into business, I've always had a business coach or someone there to support me or, push me, keep me accountable. And it kind of came in my mind last year. I'm like, I think this is something that I might want to do full time at some point. So I started focusing on it a little bit and I put a few goals out there. I said, okay, I'm going to start a podcast. Okay. Well, I started a podcast. Then I started writing this book and we'll talk about more about that in a little bit. But I started writing this book. Then I started getting some momentum in that space. And the way I felt when I would get off a coaching call or I would go speak to an office was nothing like I had felt in the business world before. And I've had a lot of success in business along with a bunch of failures as well, like most people have. Not afraid to admit that, but I felt it was my calling. And I'm literally sitting at a table with some of my coworkers and one of my best friends in Las Vegas back in July. And we're sitting there having the conversation like, man, Chris, you're really you're making a lot of things happen in the coaching space. And at that moment, I knew it was time to make the move. I talked about it with my wife. We had kicked some dates around. We talked about some things. And she was 100% on my side. Whatever I wanted to do, I could do. So I drew a line in the sand and I said, I'm going to go all in on Chris Welton. And for some people, that's hard to think about or hard to do. I just know when I focus on something with 100% intention, I'm going to do well at it. Now, that doesn't mean it's every day is going to be great. Don't get me wrong. But I know that my word for the year was impact. Yeah. And I felt I had impacted as many people positively as I could inside the company I was in. So how can I impact more people and more lives? Let's get more into the coaching space. So that's what I did. I jumped in August 31st was my last day in the inside a mortgage office. And I came out and I've been working hard since then, building out several different things I'm working on. I'm going to release out a group coaching platform later this year. I've gained a few new one-on-one clients, and I'm going to grow that space a little bit more, but I will cap the one-on-one space. I'm going to do more of the group coaching. I think that's just more effective that way.
So I want to dive into two things you mentioned. And I think the number one, I'll just call it an excuse that a lot of, especially men have, and you hear this quite often. You mentioned that your wife was on board right away, right? So I do want to talk about that. I'd be remiss not to say it, because I'm very blessed that Nicole supports me in some crazy things. I go, hey, I want to try this. I want to try that. For somebody out there listening, they're like, hey, Chris, man, that's easy for you. Like, you know, your spouse supported you in that. If they're not feeling that, how can they get their spouse on board and to have, because I do think that matters.
Yeah, I think that you really have to have those talks and be clear about what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. And first of all, my wife's Nicole also, so we both have Nicoles at home.
Easy to remember.
Yes. So you have to have somebody that's on your side other than somebody outside of your circle. You know, I've got a lot of people outside my circle, including you and Ben Newman and Renee and all these people that are super supportive of the move I've made. But if you don't have that support at home, you've got to have those conversations with your spouse and why it's so important to you and what it is you really want to accomplish. Look, there's a chance you're going to have to take a step back if you leave a career to go to something else. Maybe you've got to get rid of that extra car, or maybe not buy a new Rolex watch or whatever that is. But what is it that you really want to accomplish and dream to do? And I had moments where I was on the fence going, gosh, should I really do this? I've got a really good job. Honestly, my job was tailor-made for me. They didn't have the position in the company when I came there. They built the position out the way I wanted it. I had my freedom to do what I wanted to do. But at the end of the day, I had no fulfillment from it. And my wife knew that. Yeah. So if your spouse sees that you don't have the fulfillment from it, the money is not really that important. And if you're chasing money anyways, you're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah. You know, I'm glad you said that, because I do think whether we recognize it or not, our spouse does know. They're the first one to know, hey, you're showing up every day and you don't really enjoy what you're doing, right? Like, you're just kind of going through the motions. And I've been there where it's so much money, but you just don't like what you do. You know, 13 years in corporate America. And I can look back now, as we all probably can, and man, it's clear. You have that 20/20 vision as you look back. And so taking the risk, you decided to move forward. And I love the fact you said you went all in. And I do think there's these distractions. My coach and I have been really diving in this year of, I've become more aware. And what's scary is, as you see the pattern become more aware, I was aware of how many distractions I actually had. And I'm a pretty intentional, focused guy, but I still allowed distractions to come in. Do you think those were some distractions possibly holding you away from really going all in on this coaching, going all in on Chris Welton and what your vision was for the future, that you were going to make that impact?
I don't know if it's really distractions as more as it was fear. Like, and I had to really analyze it. Okay. I'm like, okay, Chris, what are you afraid of? Because you literally coach people on the things that they're afraid of. Well, take some of your own advice, right? So most people don't take action because they're afraid to fail and what other people will think, right? Or they're afraid to take action because what if it works? Now I've got to raise the bar and continue working that hard. You know, so for me, it was like, what am I really afraid of? And I couldn't figure it out, what I was really afraid of. So it was like, let's go after it. Let's make it happen. And I'm out on one of my workouts as I'm going through this in my head. I'm going, wait a minute. There's 8 billion people on this planet, Chris. I guarantee you there's several hundred people that would be in your group coaching plan. Like, they just don't know who you are yet. So Chris, that's your responsibility to get out there and show them who you are. So that's what I've been focusing on and thinking about every day. And I have those times. I have those moments still. And I'm early on. Gosh, did you do the right thing? Did you make the right move? Well, I feel that I did, you know, so far. And I had a guy ask me the other day, he said, Chris, what's your plan B? I said, brother, this is my plan B. Right? This is my plan B. Like, this is my plan A, B, C. This is me. This is what I'm doing. I'm going all in. My wife literally said to me, I would sleep under a bridge if that's what it took for us to be successful. So I don't, you know, any obstacles that I face right now are all stuff I've created myself. There's no doubt.
Yeah. Well, it is that fear that a lot of us will face. And I think that's actually in some ways validating that you're making the right decision, because I think back to any big decision I've made in my life that paid off and was worth it, there was always fear. And the ones that I had no fear and it was just like, man, I'm going all in and all, they tended not to work out because there wasn't enough reward on the other side. I wasn't really tied to it emotionally. And you're going all in on the coaching. I love that you said this is like, you're coaching other people, but now you're almost in a way having to coach yourself. I'd love your take on this, because this came up last week at a conference I was at. And there were a lot of people in that room who are coming up to me, and they have their own limiting beliefs. They have their own limitations. Their self-talk is negative. Like they're just dealing with a lot of junk in their head. How did you move from that point of you recognized fear into actually just going and taking action?
God, that's a great question, Brian. I mean, the first thing is, and I won't go too deep into this, but one of the things that's my burn, and Ben Newman and I talk about this, my burn is my son, CJ, that we lost in 2020. I literally have a tattoo on my forearm that says CJ is watching. So as I'm sitting in my office getting ready to make this final decision, all I can think about is CJ's watching me. He's watching me do what I don't want to do right now. I want to show him I'm going to do what I want to do, right? And I want to chase that. So I don't know if that answers your question or not there, but that's really what it came down to for me.
Hey guys, it's Brian here. I hope you are enjoying the show. By the way, if you're an entrepreneur or a solopreneur looking to grow your personal brand, make a bigger impact, maybe increase your leads and grow your revenue, let's help you get started today by connecting up with my friends over at the Brand Builders Group. You've heard me talk about them, but if you're new here, this is definitely the first step to get you started in turning your reputation into revenue. Head over to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey. Again, to set up your free brand call, go to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey to set up a free strategy call with one of the team at Brand Builders, and they will dive into your specific goals for how you want to grow your personal brand. I can't wait to hear how it goes. So it does. I got chills because, of course, I know the story and how you talk about CJ, and it's one of those. For anybody that doesn't understand what the burn is, you need to go look that up with Ben Newman. We won't dive into that today, but you need to, if you're feeling like, okay, I don't really have that same burn that Chris just talked about, where in a split second, you can make a decision and move forward. I am similar in a different way. You know, our youngest, Henry, is 8. Even this morning, I'm out there working out. I really didn't want to go this morning. There's just a lot of things going on, right? It's one of those, just, I'm sure people can relate. I'm like, but I got to go do it. Yep. And then my thought was like, if I go out there and work out, like he's going to come join me. He's going to see me doing things. Henry comes and joins me. You know, there's just these things where it's like, I don't want my kids to ever look and go, man, Dad didn't take risks. He didn't go out there and like try things. He didn't live his life. And even it's still why I still do men's league soccer over 40, right? Like, I just want them to see, like, no matter what age, whatever you're doing, anything's possible. You got to go live your life. And if you don't have a burn that helps you move, I say from the point of your feelings are in control and that indecision, actually, we talk about standards a lot of, no, this is just it. This is what we do. This is how we move forward. Guys, I would encourage you to figure that out, because once you can tap into it, I say it's this competitive edge for people of whenever I'm feeling like, okay, I don't need to do that, I just go, okay, I can change my state and move forward into it. And you did that. So I want to kind of move forward now. So now you're in it. I think a lot of people think about this as, okay, cool. Like you've made your decision, you've moved forward, you've got your burn, you've tapped into that. Now you're doing it. Tell us what it's been like a couple weeks into this, not even.
I mean, it's been challenging because I definitely have the doubt creep in from time to time. There's definitely been that. But the other thing is I'm working way harder than I did before on the coaching side. And what I mean by that is, look, I'm one of those people that if you're paying me to do something, I'm going to bring so much value, you literally are going to want to pay me more. Like that's just my whole mindset behind it, right? So if I'm coaching you, understand that I have one coach full-time and then Ben Newman is my other coach, right? And then I have got these great people that surround me, like the gentleman who's on the call with me and Renee Rodriguez, people that I can just reach out to, Damon West, and have conversations with that help me grow to be a better coach. So when I get on a call with a client, I know I'm ready to go, right? I'm prepared. I'm going to help them out. And I'll give you an example of something I did the other day with a client. He's struggling with a couple different things, some issues with a team member, just some issues overall. So I said, you know what? Let me get on the phone with your team member. He's like, you really want to get on the phone with the team member? And I said, yeah, I do want to get on the phone with the team member. So let's get on the phone. So we did that. We created had a great conversation with a team member. I said, let's do some extra calls because I want you to be elevated to a certain level, right? So when I'm coaching you, I work my tail off every day to be a better coach. But the cool thing about all that is all that does is make me a better person. Like it makes me better, right? So how do I get better? By working, reading, listening to podcasts, doing this crazy 75 hard for the third time, like doing those things to be able to bring massive value to anybody I talk to.
Yeah. So I love that you bring up the coaching thing. I know we'll talk about Renee's article because we have some comments about that and we'll kind of tee it up. But I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up, you mentioned several people very quickly. And what I love, you and I hit this off right away when we first met, is I recognize the power of other people on this same personal growth and development journey with me. Like you right away, I was like, that's a dude I want in my life because I know you're going to stretch yourself, which means when I'm around people like that, when I'm around you, I want to become a better me. And I'm not comparing myself to, oh, you've done 75 hard, you're doing your third time. Like, I'm cheering you on. I want you to crush that goal. By the way, I have my goals over here that I'm pursuing. How much do you think having those people in your corner, in your circle matters? Because this is another thing that came up last week. And I recognize very quickly the people that were winning in the room, big, they have it. The ones that are not today and they're struggling, they don't have people in their corner, in their circle.
Yeah, I mean, you hear you're the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with, right? So, I took that to heart, and I had to make some moves and some decisions to put people I felt that were on their same path, just farther along than I am, right? Same trajectory. They've already been there. How do I do that? So, I've put myself in positions to be able to meet people, and I consistently do that, right? Like. You and I connected in an event in South Florida almost 2 years ago. That's how we hit it off. And we've talked, at least once every couple of weeks since then. That's just how we do it. Right. So Renee and I hit it off and I just have become friends with Renee. I could pick up the phone and call Renee right now. He's going to answer. Right. I sent the one Jordan shoe that I do to Ben Newman. Ben and I hit it off. I was texting with Ben this morning. I'm actually going to work out with him Friday morning. He's coming to town for an event, and him and I are meeting at 5:30 Friday morning to do that crazy workout he does, which is just, I won't make it through it, but I sure as heck will try. So I find people that are receptive to help others because they don't forget where they came from.
That's right.
But that are also good, genuine people. But I don't, and I know you're the same with this. I don't hesitate to if it takes a financial investment to get in a room with someone I really want to meet, I think it's going to help me. I have no issues with writing a check. And some people don't get that. Like I was on a call with the guy the other day and we were talking about some stuff. He's like, Chris, that's $600. I'm like, you made 70 grand last month. Like $600. Like what? Like, I don't understand. So for me, and we talk about this too, we've talked about this on multiple calls. I spend a large amount of my income on personal development, whether it's my coaching, whether it's going to an event, VIP type event, whether it's paying my way to get into a room that I have never been into before.
Yeah. Dude, I think that's where people today, I listened to this last week and I shared this. What was cool is the people that were in the room that heard it for the first time were like, you could tell they're like, hold on, you upgrade every time you go to events? I said, man, I won't go to event anymore, general admission, or if I'm sitting too far back, like I'm only going if I'm fully committed. If I'm just interested and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to show up, do some things, I never get what the intention was. And so we shared this, and I had 2 of the guys from the Book Thinkers share. They go, Brian, we took your advice. And they were at the Lewis Howes event. They're like, we upgrade every time we go to an event because we meet the speakers, we meet cool people. And every time we've left better than when we came in. I'm like, dude, that's the ticket. And so if you want to know, and people are like, hey man, what are the hacks? What are the things that you can do? well, I hate to call them hacks. There is a formula and a blueprint. And if you upgrade, you're already around people that are paying, they're going to pay attention. You're around people. Yes, you may never connect with those speakers again. You might, but the people in your proximity right there are the ones. Like when we go to these events, we both connected with Renee, which is great. It's his event, but you, me, William, a couple other people from the event, like we've all stayed in touch, and that's what you got to do.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head there. And I do the same thing with flying first class. As long as I don't have to change planes multiple times to stay on first class, like if I'm flying to see you, there's really no good first class flight from Orlando to Nashville. When I go up to Columbus, Ohio to work up there, there's really no good first class flights without me having to change planes. Yeah. But most of the time I fly first class, and it's not because I want to be fancy. Part of it's because I'm 6'5" and I don't fit in the seat the normal guy fits in. But the other part is I want to connect with people, right? And that's why I have a Platinum American Express card, is so I can go to the Centurion Lounge and I can connect with people in there. Look, you are one person away from meeting somebody that can just take you to the next level. So I always I want to meet everybody. Like I talk to everybody on a plane, and sometimes they just like, look, buddy, I'm putting my headphones on, which is great. Yeah. But I still try to have a conversation with anybody that's in that immediate area, because if they're flying first class or they're in that lounge or they're VIP at an event, they're very similar to you in some ways.
Mm-hmm. I always say, this is something that's helped me, is I want to hang out with my future self. And I envision, it's good. Really weird. Like I envision myself, like, where would I be hanging out? I'd have a beach house and I'd be hanging out here. I'd be flying first class. I'd be flying private. I'd be at this event. Yeah. I'd be at this fundraiser for this charity that really means a lot to us. I'd, be at all these places, and this is what I would be doing. And I tell you, time after time, whether it's getting a new car or the house that we lived in, we moved 8 years ago, Chris, I used to run this street in our neighborhood. It's up on a hill and all that. And we lived, about a mile away from this house in a smaller home before our third child was born. And I remember I would run up the hill and drive, kind of drive through it too. And all that. And I just go, and one day we're going to live up there in the bigger homes. And until you can see it and believe it, I started to realize, I was like, man, I'm going to hang out with my future self, who's just further along in that area of my life, whether it's my health, my wealth, my friendships and relationships, business acumen there. I'm trying to learn and grow. And I know one of those guys for us has been Renee. And we were talking about this article he shared. Man, I'd love for you to unpack this, because you both jumped on it. Man, I believe a great coach can change your life. But I'll tee this up for you. Not every coach is created equal.
No, they're not. And that's, everybody wants, hear a lot of people want to become a coach, but what's the real reason they want to do? And our friend Renee wrote an article. It says, the ethical quandary behind the rise of coaches, the unseen dangers of unqualified coaching. And the first thing I noticed was how much money is being paid for coaching a year right now. This is 2020, $2.849 billion are being paid to coaches. Look, I don't remember the exact number, but I know that Coach Burt shared this with me the other day. I was talking to him, and the average coach in the U.S. makes $40,000 a year. So I don't know about you, but I don't want to be coached by someone who's making $40,000 a year. No offense if that's what you're making and you're happy and all that stuff. That's great. I want to be coached by somebody who's above me at a different level than I am, or has been somewhere that I want to go, right? So I think that's the big thing. And he talks about the illusion of expertise, and it says easy to label themselves as a coach and begin offering services. There's no regulation, right? There's no certification for coaches. There's anything else. So I would ask you, if you're going to hire somebody as a coach, dive in deep to find out who exactly they really are. Most of my clients come from referrals from other clients. That's where I get it from. Or someone hears my podcast, or they've seen me speak at an event and they want to connect with me on that level, right? And the first thing I do with somebody who's new is I share with them this speech I gave about my life growing up at an event. It's on YouTube. I send it to them. I said, this is who I am. Okay. This is who I am. I'm the son of a drug addict. I was born missing my left arm. I've lost multiple businesses. I've had some failed marriages. I've lost my son. This is who I am. I'm sharing with you all my losses, but I'm also where I am right now. I would consider myself semi-successful. I do well in the business field. I could have gone to a number of mortgage companies and named my price when I left Certified Mortgage Planners. I just could have. And that's not what I wanted to do. But I think it's important that you understand when you hire a coach, what you're trying to accomplish and where you're going. And, and he goes on to talk about how some of the coaches, they like try to be a little too flashy, or they got their private jets. Now, there's some coaches I know that fly private a lot, and it's a convenience thing. And one of our friends, Ben flies private all the time. He doesn't own his own jet yet, but I talked with Ben about that. When I first met him, I'm like, why do you fly private so much? He goes, because I'm home 30 plus more nights a year than I would be if I didn't. I'm like, I love that. I absolutely love that. Okay. And he's not flashy in it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he will show you he's on. And sometimes I think he flew a crop duster the other day. Like, it was the smallest plane I'd ever seen. So, but it was more about sensibility and getting home. It wasn't look at me and look at my $200,000 watch or any of that stuff. So, be selective and understand that my goal as a coach is to coach you at such a high level that I can't coach you anymore. Okay. I mean, that's my goal. I tell all my clients that, like, I want to get you so elevated that you're like, Chris, you can't help me anymore. Now, but I want you to understand something. I'm a moving target, brother. Like, I'm going to work hard every day so that if it happens, then you've earned it. You deserve it. Right. But I'm never one that's going to guilt you or shame you into, oh gosh, I really need you to stay in my program. I'm not going to do that. And I think the main thing is because I'm not doing this to chase money, right? And I want to go back to leaving the mortgage business. Most of my jobs in my career were because I had to. I left and changed jobs because I had to. This was a want to. I could have stayed there forever and retired there. It would have been no big deal and kept growing and doing the things I want to do. But this is what I really wanted to do and be passionate about, is to help other people get where they want to go.
I heard it said once too, and I've stayed by this too, and I'd love to hear what some of your other qualifications are on coaches. Is I have moved away from, I will not hire a coach that doesn't also personally have a coach as well. And I've even said lately, you mentioned 2, right? And I've got 2 coaches, and I've got some mentors in my corner as well. And I've said, you know what? I'm actually looking at this next level. I want the person that I pay and coach with, I want them to have a couple of coaches as well, not just one. What are your thoughts on that? And any other kind of qualifications you look for as people are listening going, hey, okay, Chris, I do need a coach, or maybe I need a different coach, or whatever it might be. And how do I vet these people out?
That's a great question. I think that part of it is, yes, how can you have a coach who's not coached? Like, I was on a group coaching call with a bunch of other coaches the other day. And I'm like, if you're not coached, then you shouldn't even be on this call. Like, and that's just like, I don't understand how you can be a leader without having someone else to guide you and help you get there. Right. Because that just tells me you think you know everything.
That's right.
Right. So first thing is, are they coached? Okay. Who are they coached by? And don't tell me they're on this $16 a month coaching thing they do with 5 million. Like, no. Yeah. What are they doing? What are they investing in themselves? I also want to know, do they go to events and try to grow and do other things? Like, what are they trying to do? I think that it also comes down to, I'm a big guy. They got to be personal. They got to have fitness. They got to be in the fitness realm of some kind. And I'm not saying they have to 6-pack abs and all cut up or anything, but what I'm saying is that shows me discipline. And I want my coach to be a disciplined individual on themselves. And then therefore I respect that.
Yeah, we jive on the fitness thing, man. I just think for too many people, it's the one place in life that we can all walk into a room and you can tell, and I'm with you on, like, at this point in my life, being 46 and still working out and training exceptionally hard, like, I look at that and go, you can tell you can't buy fitness. You can't buy the consistency and the discipline, not just in the gym, but outside the gym. And oftentimes I'll watch with people and people say, hey man, why do you post, some of the pictures or videos and different things you working out? I'm like, because I know enough along the way, almost every time I'm embarrassed or fearful of posting one of those, I have somebody reach out and go, dude, I really like that workout. That pushed me to go try this. Or, hey, I set a new goal because I saw you doing this. And I'm like, If I just inspire one person with one post, it is worth the 10 seconds it took me to post it.
Oh my gosh. You just absolutely, like, that is it for me, right? So like, I have people say, dude, why are you posting all the time? Like, because you don't know the number of people who've reached out to me, especially in the limb difference amputee world, saying, hey, my son is 10 years old and I have him watch your workout videos. Would you do a live with him or a Facebook with him and help him through a workout? Or my husband is an amputee and now he sees this and he wants to work out. Or I get, hey, Chris, you know, you've inspired me to get back in the gym, and it's just somebody I've known for years, right? So that's why I post that, not because I'm trying to be like look all bad and anything. I mean, I do look pretty good, but but when it comes to the other stuff, but I just really it's impact, it's inspiring people, right? It's like I'm not posting my jet and my other, like that's not what I'm doing. I'm posting, hey, watch me in the gym. You can do this too, and watch this adaptive workout that my trainer and I have come up with, right? And it's so powerful, man.
Dude, I love it too. And I remember for me, it really became this mission of, everybody would tell me, after you've got 2 kids or after 35 or after 40, and like, they just keep putting these limitations that they may have in their own mind. They try to put them and impose them on me. And I'm like, cool, I'm just going to keep posting it because 1, it's self-accountability. 2, I also want to inspire the other dads that are out there that may be in their mid 40s or different age and go, I mean, if Covey's able to do it, he's got 3 kids and he's got multiple businesses and in the mortgage business and all whatever stuff, surely I can figure out some time and grab 20, 30 minutes and put my health first. And then we both know this, and I know you're on the same. And I just know when I get a workout, I'm a better version of myself through the day. I'm more confident. I've got more energy. And I'm like, why would I run from something? And yes, I have the same feelings. Let's be real. Like, there are days I'm like, I really want the outcome. I'm not sure I want to go through the work, but I know what it feels like after a good run. I know what it feels like after this morning. I'll tell you this, dude, I got through 2 rounds and it was a 3-round workout. I wrote it myself. I got through 2 rounds. It was a hell of a lot harder than I thought it would be. And I'm going in the 3rd round and I'm thinking, Henry hasn't left for school. I'm like, if he walks out at any minute and I'm just not doing it. And he looks at the 3 rounds and asks me, did you do 3 rounds? Got up and got back on the box jumps and the bike.
Yeah, brother.
I mean, I just share that with you guys from the point of, that's my self-talk. That is sometimes how I just motivate myself just to get in. And once I got into the workout, I was like, yep, it's still hard, but I'm going to finish it because I know what it feels like to finish something you started and to have that fulfillment and joy. And I know you do that. What would you say from a coach's standpoint for people out there that are struggling, maybe starting something that they really know they should? I mean, they're looking at it like you did. You're like, I know I should be going full-time with this coach. I know I should be going and doing whatever. What advice would you give them to get started and get themselves back in the game?
I mean, the first thing is let's look at our daily routine. You have one whether you think you do or not. And I was talking with a good friend of mine who's a realtor the other day, guy I grew up with. He calls me and says, hey, I want to hire you as a coach. I'm like, no, I don't coach my friends. I said, but I will give you some friendly advice. And it came down to, what are you doing every day? Okay, I want you to come up with 5 things you consider a win that you do every morning before you do anything else. And we call that stacking wins, right? But just like this morning, right? I got up super early. I got into 46-degree water for 6 minutes, got out of the cold plunge, got a workout in, read, did some journaling, and now I'm ready to go, right? If you can stack wins consistently 4, 5, 6 every morning, it doesn't matter what comes at you later in the day. Then how do you build self-confidence, right? By keeping small promises to yourself. Brian and I keep promises to ourselves every morning. That's why we're on the level we're on. That's the only difference between us and you. That's it. Is we are holding ourselves accountable, and then we know how to go above and beyond that with investing and coaching, everything else. But I win my day early, and then I just have massive momentum.
I love that you shared that, because that's the one thing I know when I've been out of alignment and I've not done those things, I don't have the results. And I can look backwards and go, man, what was I doing 90 days ago? Oh, man, I detoured off. And so thank you for sharing that. Anybody that's listening, because we want to make this really complicated. We want to make this to where it's like, only certain successful people have the blueprint and code. Chris just gave you the blueprint and code. Like, start your day, stack those wins. And what I love is, in our world, it's not even 11 o'clock Central, and there are so many wins you just mentioned and more coming. And what I found, John Maxwell always talks about the big mo, that momentum. It is really hard to slow down a train when it gets moving at a certain speed. And you're no different as a human being. When you get moving in the right direction, you've got the big mo, you can accomplish it. So I want to pivot because you got a new book coming out. You were telling me about, you were doing the adaptive workout with Peloton. You've got some just really cool stuff. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say some of those, because I know you won't brag on yourself. You're not that type of person, but I'm gonna brag on you because you're my friend. And I think
thank you.
What you're doing is going to impact so many people. And I just want to say I'm proud of you because I could see it when we first met. And one of my greatest joys in life, I know like you, is seeing those people that have that calling and then they step into it and then you start to see their influence grow. So tell us about what you're doing.
Yeah. So I'm the self-proclaimed king of R&D, which is rip off and duplicate. So I'd heard this idea that Bradley and Renee came up with about sending one Jordan to somebody with a handwritten note to connect with them. So I was like, oh, that's a great idea. I'm a big Jordan fan. If I turn the camera around, you'd see I have a huge shoe problem, along with the several boxes that are on the table out there that my wife got me for my birthday. So I started out first with a guy named Damon West. I got his shoe size through Instagram, DMing him, and I sent him one Jordan shoe and a handwritten note that said, hey, if you'll do a 15-minute call with me, I'll send you the other shoe, which worked out great because Damon called me, thought it was awesome. Him and I actually shared a stage like a month later in Charleston, South Carolina. So I got to give him the other shoe in person, which was really neat. Then I just strategized and came up with this list of people and I started going after it. That's how I met Ben Newman and, Logan Aldridge, who's the one-arm Peloton athlete. We'd been talking back and forth for years through Instagram, but this is how we really big time connected. When I sent him the one Jordan, he was blown away to the extent he invited me to a golf tournament last year. I went to the National Association of One-Armed Golfers, which is really cool to get there and be there with 70 other one-armed guys. It was the coolest thing ever. The only time I'm usually in a building with more than one-armed guys is when I'm at the Def Leppard concert. But so we've become friends. We talk all the time. And he's like, hey man, I'd really like to get you in studio to do one of my adaptive workouts. So we're going to do that later this year, I think sometime in November. So I'm going to fly up to New York City and I'm on Peloton. I ride my Peloton 4 or 5 times a week, but we're going to do an adaptive workout in studio. So how cool is that? So I took the one Jordan idea and actually got with a publisher and they loved the idea. So we've got a book coming out on the strategy I use to get connected people with the shoe, along with all the people I've been able to connect with. There's a lot of big players in there. I'm not going to name them right now because there's some pretty heavy hitters in there I've been able to connect with. And I'm also going to share some other strategies, networking strategies on how to connect with high-level individuals. This is going to be a book that we want you to read more than once, every year or so, because we're going to not just write a book to write a book. And that's Renee came to me, and as I'm working through the book, he goes, love the idea, love everything going on. He wrote the foreword for me. But he said, let's put some more strategies in there. We want this to be a book people pick up a lot. Mm-hmm. So we're finishing up on that. I did move the release date to sometime in January, probably the first week of January. But yeah, I'm excited about that. I mean, that's another reason why I stepped away, because I was doing all this at 10% capacity. I had only 10% left from running the mortgage company to do this. So I'm I've got to step out and go after these other things that I want to do.
Dude. How inspiring too, man. And I think it's so cool to see. We had another athlete, Noah Galloway, served in the military and unfortunately had his leg and his arm amputated. And Noah's story is just phenomenal. And seeing what he's done and then seeing what you're doing. And for anybody out there, man, whatever your limitation is, it may not be that, the one hand at a time podcast I love. You may not have that, but you may have something else that you're dealing with. It could be internally limiting beliefs. It could be, you had whatever relationship, you filed bankruptcy, all these things that everybody thinks it's just unique to you. And not to sound harsh, but the reality is once you put your story out there, you're really not that different on that level. But when you tap into that in your uniqueness, that's where your story has power. It's not hiding it. It's not standing back, avoiding it, lean into it. And what you've done is so cool. So as we wrap, I know some people are going to want to find you. And as this stays online, how can people connect up with you? Because I think a lot of people are going to listen and go, that could be my coach.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. Thanks again for having me on today with this, Brian. The best way to reach me is probably Instagram. I'm at one hand at a time, all spelled out. On IG, you can DM me there. I will respond to your DMs. You can also reach me on my personal email, which is CW Welton. So 2 W's, CWWELTON at Gmail. Those are the two best ways to connect with me. I'd love to have some more conversations with people. If you just need some tips or some advice, DM me as well. I have no issues with helping people along the way. Right. I mean, it's a journey, and we need as many people in our corner as possible.
Heck yeah. Well, as you guys listen to this today, my one ask is always the same, is if we've inspired or motivated or really something has just struck with you, a chord that you go, man, that's me, and you take an action or you just do something as a result of this, let us know. Drop a comment in here, share this with your friends. As you think about this, as really Chris and I dedicating our time and kind of bringing you into these cool conversations we have. This was just a glimpse. I know we'll do this again because you have so many cool things going on. But I just want to share with you, man, the people in your life matter. The things that you do matter. And when you get out there and you do those together, that's really where you start to have this pursuit and your purpose, and it starts to align. And so Chris's story, it could be yours, right? Like you could go take action towards that dream and what you have that's really been placed in your heart. The only thing just in between you is just an action. And you got to figure out what that is. Reach out to us. Let us know if we can help you with that. We'd be honored to. Chris, my friend, it's always a pleasure, dude. I love, it's just, I leave and I'm smiling and I'm inspired. And then I'm also thinking, okay, I need to do this, this, and this. And so I'm going to write that down after this so I don't forget. Yeah. But thank you for just being you. Seriously, is, your growth and your journey. I know you're not done yet. And it's just cool to see you putting in the work. A lot of people don't see that. And then now you're starting to see some of that really transpire. So thank you for just showing up and being you and being a great friend that I can just call, anytime, bounce ideas off of.
Yeah, Brian, thank you, man. You're one of those people that's making this possible, right? I mean, I wasn't kidding when I said that I've put together a group of people in my life in less than the last 2 years that have been so impactful and honest with me, and I can call them at any time and we can talk things through and strategize, or just like, dude, it's lack of better. It's been a shitty day today, but like, I need to have a conversation. Right. So it's great to have other people in your life that are like that. You're one of those people for me, Brian. And before we started recording, I'm like really excited. Hopefully we're going to get to see each other here in a few weeks and out in Las Vegas at an event. And I appreciate you, man. I really do.
Oh, likewise, man. Well, guys, hey, drop us some feedback on this one. Make sure you share it with your friends, and we'll catch you on the next live, or make sure you check out both Chris's podcast, One Hand at a Time, or on mine, Finding Your Competitive Edge. Go check those out. Those will be weekly inspiration, motivation, and give you the tools and tactics and everything. And so see you guys. Make it a great day.